Hi again folks, here we go again. This is a little Hornby Ivatt Class locomotive that I've been sent by a chap called Paul. I've only been sent the locomotive, by the way, not the tender, which is a bit of a shame because certainly in my Ivatt Class locomotive the tender is far too light. I had to put quite a bit of weight in it, and so it would have been nice to have done the same to this one, but never mind. I've been told this has a problem going backwards. It goes forwards but not backwards. So let's just try it going forwards. Well, that's not going forwards, it's just buzzing, and backwards. It's just doing the same. Yeah, seized up. So we'll see what we can do with that. You'll notice that the valve gear assembly here is missing, and it's the same on the other side, and the motion bracket here is broken. Also the body is loose. I think that happened in transit because it was a wee bit broken off the back when I unpacked this. So we'll sort that. And fortunately I've got spares for the valve gear and the motion bracket, so we can get this rebuilt and hopefully running again. Right, let's get to the bench. So the Ivatt Class is one of my favourite steam locomotives actually. I've got the green version, but I quite fancy getting that a black one as well. So I've been keeping my eye on them on eBay. So when I was asked to repair this, I said, yeah, I'll take an Ivatt Class because it's a locomotive I know very well. So we'll take the body off and say we'll fix that later. And this I think is the earlier one. Mine had the XO3 motor, this has got an XO4. So it's got the brass one, whereas my one had the plastic one. But I later converted mine to a Type 7 motor. So having a look at it, I think I see what's wrong. The worm gear is way too far back on the shaft, and it's just causing the armature to stop turning. So we're going to have to pull the worm this way a bit once we get the motor out. We'll clean it up, we'll remagnetise it, and I'm sure it'll be fine. And we'll get the new valve gears on, which I have, and the motion bracket, courtesy of Peter's Spares, and we'll, yeah, hopefully we'll get this wee guy running again. Right, first things first, we'll get this motor out. I used to have a long time ago, or my dad used to have, a brass screwdriver. And it was brilliant for taking these little screws out the back without the screwdriver getting sucked into the magnet. You can't get them for love nor money. So I think I'm going to try and make one. I'm going to get some brass rod and see if I can make a little makeshift brass screwdriver. I know you can get ceramic ones, but I think I'd prefer to make a little brass one. And this should come out. Come on, here we go. Okay, we may as well just take the brushes out, get all that off before anything falls apart and breaks. Come on, here you come. There we go. So the brushes are in okay condition actually, but they need a bit of a clean. You can see there's it's gone green on the inside there, so we'll sort them. Let's take this clip off. So we'll clean the commutator and do all the usual business. Right, I thought this was going to be quite an easy job to pull this worm, but it's so far back, it's hard up against the thrust bearing. So I'm actually struggling to get that in. And if this was a plastic worm, like on the XO3 motor, it would be easy enough. But on this thing, it's not going to be quite so easy. Remove the magnet and we'll get this rear bearing out. That out of there. You really don't want to know what I did there. So now I can pull that one. I'll give it a good yank that way just now, because it's easy enough to push it back once it's free like that. Okay, I've got this. There we go. Right. So now that I've got that set, so there's just a wee bit poking through, I should be able to get this set just how I want it. Right, let's see what this is like now. I mean, I don't think it was far off originally, but it was too tight. I just couldn't pull it. That's better. Right, okay, we'll go with that for now. So, T-cut again. A couple of videos ago someone mentioned using a toothpick for cleaning out the slots here, and I thought I'll give it a go. That seems like actually quite a good idea, because the toothpick is not going to damage the copper the way a pin might. There's not much dirt in there anyway. And we'll give this a wee scoosh for that. Just put some contact cleaner in this little container and pop the brushes in, and they'll fizz away. Okay, so the chassis, oh crumbs. Well, as well as the armature being tight, these wheels are tight. Oh dear, oh dear. Right, okay, I think we've probably got some very, very old dry lubricant in the axles. I'm just going to snip it, because if I desolder it, it's just going to take the other wire off with it, so I'll snip it out. And then we can get that out the rod. And let's have a look. They actually don't look too dirty, so I'm going to give them a blast with a contact cleaner, because I can get into them. Yeah, see, that's freed it up. But once that contact cleaner dries off, there's every chance they'll just seize up again. But we'll see. We'll get some fresh oil in. There's the broken motion bracket. We'll get some fresh oil in, and we might just have saved ourselves de-wheeling it. I'm going to give it a second blast. Okay, I think we'll let the contact cleaner evaporate, and then we'll oil it and see if that works. That's not coming off, or is that is it dirt, or is it? Yeah, it is dirt. It's just very, very stubborn. I think I'm going to have to take the rotary tool to this. I know this upsets some people, but really when that dirt is just not shifting, and these are really old strong wheels, so, and this is a brass brush. Okay, sometimes needs must, but that's made a really nice job of cleaning up those wheels, because that dirt was just not shifting. Okay, these are still nice and free, so we'll get some lubricant in here, just put some power lube in. Okay, so that's a relief. I don't think we're going to have to pop the wheels. Thank goodness for that. Right, let's get the new motion bracket, which fits on there like that. And then we've got the two replacement valve gears assembly, which I've marked left and right. So we'll do the left one first. That goes into there. That clips into the motion bracket. And then get a little screwdriver. That will go on there. Like that. And there we have the new valve gear. So I'll do the same on the other side. Let's see if I can get this wee screw in. Right, that's better. We've got the valve gear assemblies and the motion bracket in. So this is the old XO4 motor with the oil reserve, the felt oil reserves, which I'm not convinced actually do anything, but we'll give it a good dose of oil in the rear bearing there. This is a gear oil I'm using, and we'll soak the oil reserve. I'm just going to put a spot of oil on that side of the bearing as well. And then in here, okay, try and get some oil. There's a thrust bearing either side of the front plate on these motors, so I want to get the oil between the bearing and the plate and the thrust bearing, and oil either side of the front thrust bearing, between the worm and the thrust bearing, and between the thrust bearing and the main bearing, and soak up the oil reserve. Okay, how loud this is going to be is anybody's guess, but they tend to all be slightly different. I recently just remagnetised a whole load of XO3s and XO4s for someone, and just when I was testing them, you know, it's amazing the difference in the sound they make. So you can sometimes get them very quiet, and others just completely refuse to be silenced. Right, which way is this magnet? Okay, so we'll remagnetise the magnet. In case you haven't seen this done before, you have to make sure your magnet is orientated correctly. So in an XO4 and XO3 motor, the south pole of the magnet is at the top, so this is pointing north this way. So to go in the magnetizer, I want it the other way around. I want the north to be facing this way. So just place this in here, and you have to kind of hold it in place a little bit and give it a couple of blasts. Oops, slipping. One. Once you press it once, it tends to just grip itself, and then press it again. And I think this time I'm just going to give it a third blast, just for a good measure. And that should now be nice and strong, and it should pick up with a screwdriver, like that. If it doesn't do that, it needs remagnetised. If you're not able to remagnetise, stick one of these in. You know, you get these neodymium replacement magnets, and I know some people say they do horrible things to motors, but it hasn't been my experience, and I think on these old XO3s and XO4s they work absolutely fine. So that's an option. Let's pop this, let me put this in first. Put that brush in there, brush in there. Okay, let's give this a wee spin. This is where you want the brass screwdriver, because suddenly now that that magnet's strong, it gets difficult to screw the screw in. Okay, well I'm just going to stick a battery on this now. Well, it works. I'll put some gear oil on this. Okay, so we'll refit the pickup. The pickup on this thing is just a, you know, a bit of a flimsy wire affair, which can easily get tangled up in the wheels. You do have to watch what you're doing with it. Right, so let's see if we can feed this wire up from underneath. Okay, oh, that's not right. Oh god, see, I absolutely hate the pickups on this Locomotive. It's so easy for them just to spring out and get caught up in the wheels. That looks better. And then we need to solder that up. I need to strip it. I don't know if I've ever pointed out these. I got these recently. Snipper on one end and a little stripper on the other. And they're great for doing these little thin wires. Just put that on there and do that, and there you go, done. Should do it. Okay, bit of power. Seems fine. Right, although everything runs quietly with sitting on a towel. We'll see what it sounds like on the layout. Yeah, so this is just broken away, and I think it's happened in transit. I mean, it's probably cracked anyway. Yeah, there's actually a little bit missing as well, so I don't know how successful this is going to be. but we'll super glue it on. Right, this one with a bit of super glue. So this being the older version of the Ivatt class, it's got the older wheels with the thicker flanges. If you look at my Ivatt class here, which was also in the 70s, but a bit later. So this is probably about 70, I don't know, 78, 79, something like that I think it was. But the flanges are much thinner. So this runs fine on modern track, but I think this might struggle a wee bit. It'll probably be okay on straights, but I think it might struggle going around the curves and points and stuff. And I don't really think there's much you can do about that unless you run it on the old track. But we'll see. Okay, get all the linkages oiled up. Right, okay, let's pop the body on and we'll see how this thing runs on the layout. As I say, these old wheels are not the best. There's maybe not much we can do about that, short of rewheeling it, which, if it were mine, I wouldn't be averse to doing, but I think if I was buying an Ivatt class, I wouldn't get this particular one. I'd get the later one, the one that I've got, but get it in black. Right, very gently screwed that on, and there we go. We've got it's complete again. It's got its valve gears, it's got its motion bracket. It's looking how it should have done. Whether it runs or not, well, it'll run, but I've got a funny feeling it's not going to be a great runner because of these old wheels. But let's go and find out. Okay, I've put this on my inner track because it's got fewer points. Pulled away nice and slow. Yeah, it's a wee bit hesitant with points and crossings. Not too bad though. Okay, so it's running. It's a wee bit jumpy over the points and crossings. That's largely down to the just these old wheels against the newer track. It's a bit grindy sounding, so I think I'll maybe have another fiddle with this and see if I can just get it a wee bit quieter. But there's maybe not too much I can do, but I'll maybe fit a new rear bearing and see if that makes any difference. Okay, so I've taken this old bearing out and replaced it with a new one. It doesn't have the felt oil reserve, but it doesn't really matter. Lubricated it up, remagnetised it again, so we'll see if that makes any difference. Okay, let's see what this sounds like. That's a bit better. Okay, so I think that's this old Hornby Ivatt Class locomotive running okay now, and complete with its valve gear and motion bracket and everything else. Pity I don't have the tender, but never mind. Yeah, it's a wee bit jumpy on the points and crossings because of those old wheels, but I don't think there's really much we can do about that. But it's certainly running smoother and quieter with that replacement rear plate bearing. That has made a difference on a couple of XO3 and XO4 motors that I've worked on in the past, so I have a wee supply of them. So yeah, there we go. Done. On to the next one. Catch us later, folks.